Good morning, everyone. Another beautiful day here on the farm. Just wanted to take a minute to document something here that we have found to be very beneficial. You're looking at a freshly harvested cornfield. You'll notice that the residue is completely shredded. We do not use a chopping corn head. We do use a knife roll, I think is a proper term. But anyway, shelled this with the old 2388. Nothing special here. 1083 corn head. Nothing special here, but it does have the knives on the rollers. See if we can find something here. You'll see the knives on the rollers, but it does not have the rotary cutter looking knives under it. No, it is not what they call a chopping corn head today. It's just a regular old knife roll corn head. Anyway, so what we do, freshly behind the combine, we took a bat-wing bush hog, shredded the stalks, and you can see we had a tremendous amount of residue here. I mean, here's an example of some of the corn coming off of it. You can see my old beat up hand here. So it's pretty decent yielding corn. But you can see we shredded it. That's going to allow the stalk, cob, husk, all of the fodder, as we call it here in the South, to decay quicker and faster and use that for plant food for the next crop. Now this field is seeded in winter wheat. It was just seeded yesterday, and you can see in places here where the planter went. It seems like it takes a lot to do this. There's people like, well, I don't want to make a separate pass. In other words, running it over with a rotary cutter, you know, it's just too long, whatever. And there's some degree of truth to that. But a chopping corn head, I don't think does as good a job, even though they do a good job. It doesn't do as good a job as running this rotary cutter over it. And Lord, look at the cost of those heads. But you can see where the drill went. I don't think there's anything there that this fodder being chopped up, is hindering as far as the drill going in the ground. Now you can see what we're planting with. The wind is terrible. Nothing special here. We are using copperhead closing wheels. This action seems to pulverize the soil pretty good, and I really like that. But we're trying to go we're trying to go 1.25 inches deep. Now this ground here, obviously the corn head went over it, and the rotary cutter has gone over it. So you see the difference here versus the field there, where the drill has gone over. So the drill actually, I mean, you can see there is a tremendous amount of cover here. I mean, that is tremendous plant food, and we need to get that broken down and back to the soil as quick as we can. I hope the wind's not blowing. It's just about to blow me down. But let me turn my back to the wind. But you can see the difference. So that drill coming over actually helps its cause even more. The gauge wheels are taking these smaller cut up particles and pushing them closer to the ground, which is obviously giving you more ground contact, which gives it more susceptibility to moisture, which is going to help it break down faster. Takes a little bit to do, but basically, for conversation purposes, this field went from, and this is not a large field, okay? I understand that. But this field went from standing corn to planted wheat in approximately 2 hours with 2 people. I was running the combine. We had the semis lined up here on the driveway. Okay. I shelled the corn. My son immediately started in shredding the stalks. When he had the stalks finished shredded here, he jumped on the drill and started sowing, and I went to the next field chopping. And obviously, if I catch up threshing, then I'll go to chopping stalks or whatever. But 2 people can get this done in a short period of time. It doesn't take that much to shred this crop residue, and I'm telling you, it is worth more than you realize. I mean, we have fields where we didn't shred the stalks years ago, and we're about 4 years in, and you can still hunt around and find short pieces of cob, short pieces of corn stalk. That's unacceptable. That did you no good whatsoever. Let's walk over here a minute and look at the rotary cutter, and there's nothing special about it, and that's what I'm trying to show you. There's absolutely nothing special whatsoever about what I'm talking about. Chances are you have a rotary cutter, whether it be big, small, or whatever. And I realize this one's 15 foot. You know, and I know some guys that's got some 20s. Okay, you can see where he shredded this. And he shredded it a little bit tall. But there's nothing. This is a regular old, what is it, a 2615 bush hog brand. We call it a bush hog, but a rotary cutter. And you just hooked to the old 40-30. You know. No harm, no foul, no big deal. You will be surprised at the difference. Now, you see these stalks setting up here a little bit? When that drill runs over it, that disc blade cuts through this again. In this case, it's 7.5 inch centers on the planter road, on the rows. So every 7.5 inches, it cuts it again. And the gauge wheels pack what it can get too tight to the ground. So you look at this and you're like, well, I don't see where it's a major difference. You know, it's not as good as it should be. Maybe. But when you run that drill over it, it makes a difference. So the rotary cutter and then the drill makes a big difference. Now, you guys that don't do winter crops, do a corn soybean rotation and maybe throw some milo in there every once in a while. This is still beneficial to you because you get rid, I shouldn't say get rid of the residue. You're incorporating that residue, you're using it to your benefit. Plus, you are putting, you can run your drill over and put a cover crop in, and it's going to do the same thing. It's going to condition it, and then you're going to get your cover crop, which you're going to kill and use for plant food again in the next year. Real simple. You don't have to have a new modern chopping head to do this. Yes, it's an extra operation. It's not that big a deal. It's not that intense. Get out there and do it. Year after year, it will pay you. It will put money in your pocket to get that done. Well, I've got soybeans to harvest, and the way the wind's blowing, I'm thinking they're pretty ready to go. I need to get going. Take care. We'll talk with you next time.